Hey, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Martin. Who am I joined with today?
What's up, guys? Dope Slider 930 here.
And we are here bringing you ModChat episode 3. It feels like we haven't done that much work, even though we've done a bunch so far.
Woo woo! Episode 3!
Yep. So, Dope Stoner, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, today we are going to take it back, kicking it old school. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to take it back to the beginning, though, and basically talk about how we got into modding, and not just into like the Xbox 360 modding, but basically as far back in modding as we can possibly go. So that way you can see kind of like how we got into all this in the first place.
Exactly, yeah. So we had thought about these topics a while ago, and then this time I was just like, hey, Dope Stoner, you go ahead. I'll call you Daniel. I don't know why I'm calling you by
Yeah, I
your
know.
name. Yeah, but no, I was just like, hey, Daniel, go ahead and pick a topic. So he picked this one, and then we're going to be going with it now. So hopefully, we'll have some fun times. We'll have some fun stories. And for anybody that's new to ModChat, welcome over here and all that. All the links for ModChat will be down below in the description if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever you're listening to from, anything like that. But essentially, this is Daniel and I, and we get together about once a month, and we talk about modding and all that, because in case you don't know, we are both on YouTube, and we came up through the modding scene. Unfortunately, we don't really do many modding videos now, because, I mean, there's not that much to cover, really. I mean, you can attest to that as too, right?
Oh yeah. We've pretty much, I feel like, done anything and everything possible to do with modding. So again, with ModChat, we decided that we would kind of discuss certain topics with modding, though, for those of you that, because we do get, I know Mr. Mario is the same way. We get a lot of requests for different modding things. So we decided this was kind of a cool way for those of you that wanted a little bit more on modding and to hear us talk about modding related subject to be able to, get some of that.
Exactly, and we have fun doing it all, too.
It's an excuse to hang out.
Yeah, very true.
So.
Yeah. All right. So you're saying you want me to start this out?
Yeah, lead them off. Let's hear your story.
Okay. I mean, I even planned it down. It's just like, no, I'll let Daniel go first. But I mean, if you're saying I'll go first, okay. So, anyways, this is what ended up happening, I guess, with my background and all that. This is when I was probably like 9 or 10 years old, something like that. I'm almost 22 now. So I got into it pretty early, but what ended up happening was this was kind of a year two endeavor almost. I was looking into this, and I was stumbling onto, because at the time I didn't have a working computer, so what I would do is like I'd go like the public library, get on the computer there and everything, and somehow like I started looking up, like canceled and banned and, unreleased games and all this other stuff, and I found out about this one game on PlayStation 1. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Daniel, have you heard of this game called Thrill Kill?
It doesn't. I don't think so. It doesn't ring a bell. What is it? What kind of game is it?
It is a 4-player like beat 'em up brawler for the PlayStation 1, and it was supposed to be just like really violent and gory and all that. It was supposed to come out Halloween of 1998. It had a lot of hype behind it. It had this crazy cast of characters, which pretty much like all these people did bad stuff, during their time in Earth, and then they went to. Pretty much, it wasn't like Dante's Hell Inferno, but, they did go to hell, and they are just, like, destined to just fight and all that other stuff. But instead of doing damage to people, what you do is when you're attacking your opponents and all that, you build up something called a kill meter, and then when you do that, you pretty much go into, like, the superpower mode. You can catch one person and then pull, like, a thrill kill on them, which is essentially just, like, a really violent and ultra kill of some kind.
Huh. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of that game at all, man.
Mm-hmm. I would recommend looking it up, because like the story behind it's pretty cool. Like I looked into it, and there's so many fan sites you can find out dedicated to it and everything. And there was so much like mystery behind it too, because essentially what happened is this game was so violent it actually got an adult only rating at the time. Then they ended up having to censor 2 or 3 things on there, 2 or 3 little details. That brought it down to an M. And it was being created by Virgin Interactive, and I think it was like Virgin Interactive was publishing it, and Paradox Studios was creating it. Then what happened was EA ended up, this one reason why, this kind of started the EA hate train, EA ended up buying out Virgin, and then 2 weeks before release, so this game was done. Like, this game had gone gold and everything, it was complete, it was ready to go.
Yeah.
2 weeks before release, EA decided to cancel it because they said that it was too violent for audiences.
So wait, it never was publicly released?
It was never publicly released.
So there's just basically, ROMs that have floated around?
Yes, and that is the cool thing about it. There's 4 ROMs that float around with it. There's the NTSC beta, which is like really bones basic and all that. There's the PAL beta, which has some more stuff added to it. And then there's the uncensored and censored releases. And the thing is, it's kind of sad because it's kind of flip-flopped. So for 80 collectors, even including myself, you can't really find it. But when it first came out, everyone said, screw the censored version. I want the uncensored version. And because it's been circulated for so long, the uncensored version, you can find that easily. But nobody has the censored version anymore. Like, you cannot find it anywhere.
But again, when you're saying the version, this is physical copies, so somehow someone got the beta discs, or no?
I believe so. I've never actually seen pictures of beta discs or anything, but you
Okay.
can find the images online and everything. And the game is unreleased. Like, I remember even GamePro, they had covered it a little bit in like a topic about unreleased games, and they said that honestly the game's not the best. It's just like the lore behind it is so great. But they said it's pretty much just like notoriously known as the most bootleg PlayStation game.
Huh, that's crazy. I mean, back then, you said this was in 90...
This is 98.
Yeah, well, I mean, back then, there's no way I wasn't allowed to play any games if they weren't, like, E for everyone. So, I mean, that would make sense that I hadn't heard of it at that time because I was so just, like, sheltered up until 360, really. So.
Yeah, and I found out about it in about 2003, 2004, something like that. But what ended up happening for me was there was actually this one fan site which... it's called Fuzzedworks Thrill Kill. You can actually still find it, but there used to be a forum and all that on there, and his site's gone through several things, so, like, there's no more forum on there anymore. But essentially, like, what happened was I was on the forum there, and I was just, participating heavily in the community and everything, and, just talking to all these other people. And then I was wanting to learn, how to play this game because a bunch of people had this copy of this game, and I was like, I need to play this. Like, I need it. Like I was one of those kids. I thought games like that, like Grand Theft Auto and Manhunt and all that, like those were like my favorite games. Like, I just loved those violent games, which sounds so sadistic, but they were fun to me. And it's like I think I turned out pretty normal aside from a few quirks here and there.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, but like what ended up happening though with everything was. I found out, about mod chips. So I started looking into mod chips and everything, and I found out you had to solder. Well, great. I'm like 10 years old. I didn't know how to solder. My parents didn't trust me, taking apart electronics or anything. And there was nobody in my town or nobody I could really send it off to or anything like that. So unfortunately, a mod chip was out of the case. So I was looking for some type of alternative. So I found out about boot discs. Now, in case you don't know, we're so spoiled now. It's awesome how you could just, boot up a backup easily and everything. Back in the PlayStation 1, you had to either take a mod chip and solder it in, which is pretty easy to do, but you had to find a person, or, you had to secure the mod chips, which is a lot harder to do, in the late 90s, early 2000s, as opposed to now. And then, well... kind of harder, kind of easier, whatever. It's maybe, I don't know. Like, I felt like it was kind of harder to find back then, but there were being more made at the time. There's more of them being produced. Essentially, what ended up happening was there was that, or you could get a boot disc.
Hot swap, right? Is what it's called?
Yes, you could hot swap.
I remember that.
Yep. So there was this one disc I had. I think it was called the Breaker Pro, or because it wasn't a code breaker, it was a Breaker Pro. And essentially what you would do was on the original PlayStation, like the fat model and everything, if you opened up the disc tray, in the back there was this little button. And when the disc tray was closed, that button would be pressed down. When you opened it, it would press back up on the button, so the system would detect, hey, you opened up your system, so you couldn't do a disc swap like that. Essentially what happened is you get this thing, and I think we paid like $20 for it, but... you had to get this, and it would come with a little spring, and you put that spring, because you didn't have to open up your system, but you put that spring right there on, like, this little hook area that kept the button pressed down, and you put the other piece on the button, so when you opened up your disc tray, it acted like, the PlayStation still acted like you didn't open it up. So essentially, you pop in this boot disc, you boot it up like a regular game, you say you want to boot up your game, and the disc stops. And then you're able to open up your tray, you swap in your backup, you close it, you hit X, and then it boots it up like that. So I had found out about that. I remember I begged my dad to get a boot disc, so we ended up getting one for like $20, and I remember we got like the cheapest possible shipping, and it took like 2.5 months for it to send from somewhere in Europe.
Oh god.
Well, because like the shipping was like $2, but like the next shipping was like $10, so we decided to get the $2 one, and it was modchip.com. Like that was the site. It was modchip.com. So we get one off there. And then it was actually the owner of this site, the Throwco site I was on. I was kind of looking for a copy here and there, and then it was hard to find them at the time because there were no good, ROM sites or anything like that. And, the copyright stuff had really expired on it up until then because it was just completely dead. So what happened was the owner actually messaged me, and he said, hey, check your messages. I sent you something. I checked my messages. He said, hey, listen, so I don't do this normally, but I know you're a good guy. You've been on here for a while. You really contribute to the community. If you pay me $5 just to cover a blank disc and some shipping and all that, I'll burn you a copy of the game. I'll send it over your way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was able to secure it like that, and then like the game, like because the way the engine worked, like it ran like shit. Honestly, it ran like shit on my PlayStation, just because like you have to like look into it. It was a multi-track game, so it didn't work that well. But that is what got into the start of it, because like I was able to play like NES games on my PlayStation, all that other stuff. So like that was the first thing I ever modded, just my original PlayStation with a boot disc, and I was like 10 years old or something when I did that.
It let you the PlayStation 1 using the hot swap, you can run emulators, or no, you had to actually do a chip mod to do that.
Well, no, there was actually a disc that I had that had an emulator and a bunch of ROMs on it.
Huh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was all pretty cool.
That's sweet. Like I think one of my buddies had a PlayStation. I don't remember too well, but I feel like one of my neighbors or something like that had a PlayStation, because I remember seeing the whole hot swap thing. I don't think I ever did it to my own system, but I remember when that was a thing, and like how simple that is, you know, basically to be able to run a backup game or a copied game was just a simple little boot disk with a spring, you know, basically to trick the system to thinking it, you know, so it doesn't reset essentially.
Exactly, and actually the funny thing is you could even do it without the boot disk, but the boot disk, the reason why it was kind of recommended, I guess, was due to the fact that you didn't burn out your motor as easily, because I've done it before. If you block that sensor, or the button in this case, there's actually a way where you could pretty much swap disks a few times and you could boot up a backup without a boot disk pretty easily. The thing is, you know, you could ruin your disk, ruin your hardware, anything like that. So the boot disk, the difference with that is it stops. So you can easily swap everything out and you don't have to time anything.
Versus either grabbing a spinning disc or stopping it with your fingers and trying to rip it out real quick.
Exactly, which like I know like hot swapping was kind of popular in like the Call of Duty modding community for the 360, and you just see all these people like ruining their discs and like screwing up their fingers and all that stuff too.
Wait, could you hot swap for a 360?
You could, yeah. You have to open up the case and then the disk drive and everything. But yeah, you can hot swap.
And just have the little magnet thing on top or whatever?
Exactly. And actually there was even an easier method. At one point, they did patch it, but I believe it was in the Connect dashboard. What you could do, I think it was on BenQ drives, and I don't know if it was anything else that wasn't BenQ, but I saw it on YouTube before. What you could do is you could actually hit the eject button on the system, and on the dashboard, hit the Y button on your controller at the same time. So you'd go into your game information, like settings and all that. Yeah. But it wouldn't really detect that you actually, you know, ejected. So then you could just put in a backup disk and install that over and play it.
That's interesting. I actually had no idea until right now that you could hot swap on a 360 ever. I remember
really?
PS2. Yeah, I never did it, dude. Like,
snap! We're teaching you things.
That's crazy. Like, I wonder. Well, the thing is, like, I didn't get a 360 until what was it? It was probably it was like probably 4 or 5, 6 months after MW2. Was it patched at that point?
No. Hot swapping is still done even now.
Current dash?
Yeah, current dash. No, you could still do it. Like there's the only thing is some people they try and say hot swapping is better, and I'm just like, okay, if it's like a newer system maybe, but like you're never gonna convince me that hot swapping your system and keeping it open is easier or better than just a one-shot boot off a flash system.
Yeah, no, that's wild. I don't know how in the hell I never heard of that, because I for sure would have like messed around with that a little bit. Weird.
Yeah, no, it's mostly used on what is it, like Call of Duty World at War.
For like the burnt ISOs or whatever with the modded stuff on it.
Yeah, there's several games that you can ISO mod, like Left 4 Dead and all those other games too.
GTA had it, I believe, too.
Grand Theft Auto 4, yeah, you can hot swap because there's ISO mod. Almost any ISO moddable game you can hot swap easily. The only game that has difficulty, from what I've read, is GTA 5, because it's weird how you do it. Because normally you have to swap at the dashboard and then you install, but with Grand Theft Auto 5, you have to like boot up the game and then at the Rockstar logo you have to swap.
So it's really like picky and like, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Like people try and like get intricate with their hot swapping. I'm just like, just flash the damn drive and never have to worry about it.
Cut the shit.
Yeah.
Do you still have that game that you got or no?
Yeah, I do.
It's awesome.
Yeah. No, dude, I still have it, man. I still have it.
It's freaking rad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Throw a kill till I die. I feel like you were way more like I didn't do any of that. Like starting off, the first thing I ever can remember that was any kind of a mod at all was like, you know, you were able to buy it. I think you could buy it at the store. Was the Game Shark?
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't you buy that at like a retail outlet?
Yeah. And I did Game Sharks and all that as well too.
Yeah, well, that was like for me. That was my first time ever like dabbing with like any kind of making things different than they were supposed to be or modifying, and it was just a Game Shark, and I picked it up for the Game Boy Color because I was so tired of leveling up my Pokemon, dude. So I got like 99 rare candies, and like and then you would like level up your Pokemon, and they wouldn't listen to you because you didn't have enough badges to basically. For them to listen to you, you had to have like a certain amount of badges. Otherwise, there was a level cap where they would sometimes ignore your moves and stuff like that. But I had that on the Game Boy when I was probably, God, Game Boy Color, maybe like between 8 to 10. I want to say around that time frame, maybe more 8ish. But I had it on that, and I had it on the
I
N64.
never got
I
my
want to say
N64 one to work.
as well.
I got everyone else. I got every other system to work except the N64 Game Shark never worked for me, so I had to return it.
Huh, that's interesting. Yeah, I think that I got it to work on a few games or something like that, but that was really about it. And then, gosh, I'm trying to think like what else did I get into? I did well, console modding. When did it was 360? I want to say in all honesty that the PS3 and the 360 were the first ones I was really big on, and once I got into those, then I kind of backtracked and I picked up like I picked up a PS1 chip off of Assembler Games. There was a guy on there selling them, and I also did a PS2 as well. But I kind of like
Oh
went in
wait,
reverse.
you've soldered a PS2 mod chip?
PS1 and PS2.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm
like some years back, man.
I'm pretty
It's
impressed because no, like the PS1 is pretty easy, but the PS2, like people have said that's noticeably known as like one of the harder mod chip installs because it's like 40 wires.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was kind of like the same kind of difficulty as when I installed. I did the what was it called? The Cygnus dual NAND chip, and I did that on the Slim, and it wasn't made for the Slim, so I had to basically manually wire all the wires in, and that was something like I want to say that was at least 25 to 30 tiny wires running all over the board, which was
Hmm.
like me sitting there just like crack eyes like trying to get it to work. But yeah, I did both of those some years back, and yeah, but I guess like up until that point, the only thing I'd really done aside from that was I was really big, and me and my brother both into like the iPhone jailbreaking when we were younger.
Hmm.
That was something where like we both were we thought it was rad, like the fact that you could jailbreak your phone. I mean, did you ever jailbreak a phone growing up? Like, I mean, do you
Oh yeah.
remember your first time?
Oh yeah. No, I remember I pretty much bought my. I legitimately tried like not to because the first iDevice I got that was jailbreakable was my iPod Touch third gen. I tried to keep it stock, and it was
Yeah,
literally I had it for a day, and the second day I had it, I was just like, I'm gonna jailbreak this thing.
yeah, oh
And
yeah,
I did it right there, just Black Rain. I remember it was like 3.0.2, I want to say, or something like that.
yeah. That was the first one I did too. Was Black Rain? I believe it was like a. Well, maybe it wasn't, but I remember Black Rain for sure though. With like it had a big drop on it, and I want to say it had a face on it. Was it Geohot's
Yep.
face?
It
Or,
was
yeah,
Geohot's
yeah,
face in a
yep.
painting and all that. That would show up on your
Yep.
iPod.
Yep, I definitely remember that. So that was like that was when I first became really probably really fascinated with being able to crack something and like do all these like I remember I mean I was the one where on my iPhone or I think it was an iTouch probably like you said too and I mean I would customize it to the point where like it wouldn't even function anymore, dude. Like like all the springboard or winterboard like there was so many
Yeah.
issues with that, at least when it first, I don't know how it is now, but when I first had it, dude, all the time, like you'd have to reset it or like just things wouldn't work right. And I would
Yeah,
do all these
restart, and you would have to like restart Springboard and all
yeah,
that.
exactly. It was kind of like kind of dumb. I mean, but it's come such a long way since then. But that I think was like the first time I really messed with it. And then I kind of dived into Android as well, where I was like rooting and installing custom things on that as well. Because I don't know, that was I don't know, man. I've always just like I guess kind of like pushing things to their limits, but it wasn't until the 360 and PS3 scene where I just saw how much you could push something to their limits, you know?
Yeah, and see the thing is for me, I had such a break from modding for a while because like I did, the PlayStation 1 as I said, and then I've done the Game Sharks and all as well too. That's kind of like almost like the gateway drug into modding, I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh yeah.
But what happened like I did all that and then the PS2, I also had boot discs on there as well, which the boot discs worked much better. And I tried other exploits like the Independence exploit and things like that. And then it was like, the previous generation of systems, the seventh generation, I had I didn't even get a Wii until after I had everything else, but I soft modded that, and then the 360 and the PS3, I didn't even start modding them or anything until like 2011, 2012. But the PSP scene in the middle of that, like the PSP scene kind of died off too because it was an older system, but that is probably like one of the most devoted scenes I was into growing up.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that a few times, saying that you're really into the PSP modding. I did actually chip my brother's PSP, or not chip it, but it was soft mod. I think you just put something on the memory card, right? Basically.
Yep, and
Yeah,
it's so easy to do now. No, like I got stuff around here, but like I remember when like the Pandora battery was first released online, like the first few hours of it, and essentially you had to like get a battery, and you had to flash the battery itself. And then you had to do some crazy funky stuff with your create a magic memory stick, and essentially you could boot up your PSP into service mode and recover a fully bricked PSP.
no shit, dude.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. Like, it was just astounding because we literally had like Sony's tools available to us.
I feel like there's still a pretty decent PSP community, is there not?
I think there is, but it's just, I mean, the system came out in 2005. It's just so old now at this point, But, like, when it was actively getting updated and all that stuff, like, it was great. Like, I remember it was, like, a new firmware would come out, and then, like, within hours, it was decrypted and put out online and everything. Yeah, no, it was all great. Like, it was analyzed. And all. Like, I remember I was sitting there decrypting firmwares and all that, too, on my system.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man, it was fun. It was a whole lot of fun. I learned a lot from that scene, too. That was when I was, like... Probably from, because I think that was from like age like 13 to like 15 or so. I was into the PSP scene.
Yeah, I don't think did I even. Yeah, I never even owned a PSP. It's my brother's PSP, and so I wouldn't dare try to do something on his, because just knowing me, like I have to break something like at least once or twice before I get it right. So I never messed with his until it was at the point where he was older and didn't use it anymore, and it was kind of like cracked and stuff. I was like, I'm gonna just see how easy it is, and I just remember it being super easy. But I do remember I remember that whole the Pandora battery thing you're talking about too. So I don't know. That was a long time ago, though, right? The Pandora battery thing. I mean, that was
the Pandora battery. I got that. It was when I was 14 or so. So that was like 2007, 2008. Because I remember I traded my friend his hardware. Because my friend had a PSP that he destroyed, and he traded me I traded him 2 games for his battery and his memory stick, which it worked out for him and I because they were games I didn't want, and then he couldn't use the other things, and I was like, oh yeah, these are going to be really, really valuable to me.
Yeah, heck yeah. No, it must have been way after the fact, because I don't think I was in high school. I feel like that was probably 4 years ago or something like that. So it was way after the fact, when everything was already figured out, and it was as simple as popping in the card and doing one thing, and it was running.
Dude, I've jailbroke. Well, I guess that's one thing I hate. It used to just be called custom firmware and flashing and all that. Now it's called jailbreaking. They brought that term over to the PSP. But what ended up happening was even recently I've modded up and installed custom firmware on a few PSPs, and it's insanely easy because it's like a 1 megabyte folder that you download and you copy it over, and it's from what I remember, you install some files that are the custom firmware files. And then you install another program to boot up the custom firmware. And then if you have a permanent moddable PSP, you can install an optional third program, which makes it so that when you boot up your PSP, it boots directly into custom firmware.
Wow.
And all that, you can literally mod a PSP, including download time, copying everything to your memory card, and installing those files 3 minutes.
Jeez, see, that's the thing. Everyone, even with the 360 modding stuff now, I mean, if you look at how it used to be to where it is now, it's so much easier,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back when there wasn't NAND readers, you had to use an LPT cable, which took a hell of a lot longer, and you didn't have a GUI. It was all just, basically
NAND Pro, command prompt, all that.
Exactly. It was all command prompt. I mean, that back then, that's why they had to have, I mean, a couple things happened. One, the software and all of the apps and everything got way more dumbed down, if you will. And along with that too, there just became more and more with your videos and my videos and things like that. A combination of all that stuff just made it where it's just so much easier as long as you can basically do some semi decent soldering to do that. Well, before it was a lot more difficult, because the thing is, I feel like a lot of people can click buttons, and a lot of people are kind of more intimidated by a command prompt,
Mm-hmm.
I,
Absolutely.
it's just like a little bit, I guess, a little bit more scary looking, if you will, versus
Well,
having
because
nice, pretty buttons.
there's nothing there, yeah, compared to buttons where it's like, okay, press, 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 I'm done. Like
Yeah.
JRunner, for example, when that came out, it was just like, yeah, this is designed so that you could pretty much just go from left to right and mod up your system at the end.
Oh, that thing was made so like just to make everything so much easier. I mean,
Exactly.
I've used, I don't know how many different tools you've used, but like I've used there was a guy named Cool Shrimp, and I had
JTAG
used,
tool,
yeah,
right?
Cool Shrimp's JTAG tool. And there was another guy, God, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's from the UK, and he always had a Pikachu logo, and he had a pretty good was it XE Builder? It might have been called XE Builder,
Well,
XE Builder.
XE Build is still used, but there's also an XE Build GUI available.
Maybe it's the GUI I'm referring to then, but this other guy had created one as well. I mean, I've gone through so many just different. I've even done like the Nan Pro one, but where you had to basically read the text file. It gave you all the instructions on what to type in to make it do what and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm thankful that JRunner came out. Or is it JRunner or JR? Yeah, right.
JRunner.
JRunner. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
the JR
super,
programmer is the
is the
programmer
chip
for it.
itself. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
No, I remember there was that, but actually, one of my friends, we should probably get him onto the show if we can. He got into the 360 modding scene like really early, and it's funny because he's like younger than both of us. But no, dude, he did like the King Kong exploit.
Damn, I that was way done when I was into it.
Yeah. No, that was like the Blade dashboard. That was the precursor of NXE, and he was even saying he was just like, yeah, like the reason why it was so short lived was because like nobody had the tools or anything like that, and there was like nothing available on that. You had to like read up on everything, and even if you know what you were doing, it was still complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't like because I mean there wasn't standardized tools made for it. You had to probably I mean from what I understand, right? You had to use like just generic flashing tools that and kind of cater them to the 360.
Yeah, and there weren't even like flashing tools available and all that before. Like, I mean, the way people even like started pulling DVD keys off there was they had to take the actual like desolder the chip itself from the actual PCB board of the DVD drive and then load it up into Reader and read and write everything from there.
God.
Yeah, no, I'm happy we just have our USB tools and all that.
Yeah, we're I was gonna say we're blessed.
Yeah, we are. We are. It's so easy.
Oh man. Well, do you wanna talk about kind of how you got so involved in the 360 scene, kind of?
Sure. I mean, I guess the only other thing, because I've modded so many other little things. I did like the original Xbox soft mods as well too. Wait, have you ever done that or not?
I've actually never even owned an OG Xbox
Oh
game.
man, dude, the soft mods were so fun on there. The only thing is, I never upgraded a hard drive on those systems, which you kind of need to because they come with like 8 GB drives.
Yeah, my buddy had one and I wanted to for the longest time. I wanted to do like just customize one and do it all because I still see on Craigslist all the time like people selling hard or modded OG Xboxes, and I thought it'd be cool because there's I believe a way to basically force it to push out 720p and it has XBMC, so that's all very attractive to me. So I would like to still, but yeah, dude, I never actually have myself now.
Yeah, no, I'd recommend trying it out sometime because it's all pretty fun to do. Like, I think I have my hardware still here and all that. But yeah, no, I guess like getting into the 360 scene, we actually touched up on this like a little bit, and I think it was episode 1. But no, like essentially what happened with that was it was just like I had bought a Xbox off someone. It was already modded and everything. I bought it from a coworker, and it had like a see-through case and green LED lights and changed up whisper fans, and the DVD drive was flash and everything. But then like I learned how to patch my own backups and all the other stuff. Then from there, the whole YouTube thing, that was kind of a lift off of that. But essentially then I was learning more how to even like flash the systems and everything as well too, just because I had to update my own systems and everything without them being reflashed, and I had to learn how to do all that myself, and there was just a lot of misinformation out there. But I mean, that's really how I came up on that. Like, I've told my story a bunch, but like I kind of want to hear yours more now, because this is like where you said you were coming into it a lot more off of the Game Shark thing.
Yeah, well, basically, like I'll try to not drag it out super super long because I'm really good at just making things stupid long. But basically, what happened was I'd been looking around on Craigslist and I'd heard of basically modified consoles, and it's this guy on Craigslist said flash console for sale. I think it was like $100 at the time for console only, and I was like, cool, I have all the cables and stuff, no big deal. And so I ended up meeting up with this guy. He lived only a mile from me, and we and him became really good friends. Even to this day, we're great friends. and he had like a garage full of Xboxes, and I was just standing. I remember standing there. I was working at McDonald's after high school, and I was like, "You're telling me you make a living, working on video game consoles? Like, like what am I doing
Yeah, and,
wrong that
and
you're
actually,
not?"
if you don't mind me asking, like, does he actually make a living on them, or did he have a day job?
No, he 100% what he did.
That's crazy.
100% for years. I mean, from the time I met him up until probably 6 months ago, he got a job. But yeah, the whole time, yeah, he was paying bills with that dude.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, which is wild. And so yeah, I was like really fascinated with what he was doing, and he didn't really mess with mods very much aside from he flashed and he did repairs. He didn't do any soldering. He still to this day doesn't really do any soldering. And so. Then I remember playing my flashed Xbox, and I was really big into COD or MW2. Me and my friends would come home and play every single day. And I remember we got into a lobby one time on Rust, and I mean, it was just modded to shit, dude. I mean, I don't know if you remember like the first time you ever got into a modded lobby, like for COD at least, but like for me, it was the most exciting thing ever. I was just freaking out, dude. I'm like, what the? I've never seen anything like that before, and I was just like, wow, it was crazy. Super speed, super jump, and unlimited everything, and AC-130s walking around, like all sorts of shit. I'm like, this is crazy. And so that's when I was like, I've got to look into this. Like, what is this we're doing here? And so started, that's when I found Seven Sins, found the tech game, all that stuff, and started researching it, found out what a JTAG was, and I found a was it? I don't know if my console was JTAGable at the time or whether I think I went out. No. I went out and bought. Um, Dude, no. Okay, I have to backtrack just a second here. Okay.
Okay.
When I bought that Xbox off the guy that lived next to me, he didn't actually flash Xboxes at the time. That was wrong. I bought a stock console. Then I went to another person's house on Craigslist who flashed it for me. That's what happened.
Okay.
But then later on, I had found a Blades dashboard. I don't know whether. I think it was through me repairing it or something like that. And back then, I didn't know how to solder. Wasn't gonna dive into it. I looked on Craigslist. I remember there was a guy. I'm gonna say his name. I don't care. His name was Carlos, right?
Okay.
And
Generic enough.
exactly. Yeah. Good luck finding him. um, and he lived in the desert, which was about an hour to an hour 30 drive from my house. And I remember I had texted him and said, hey, can you do the JTAG, yada yada yada. So I dragged my girlfriend at the time up at like 7 in the morning so we can make the hour-and-a-half trip out of the desert.
It's just like I can just imagine like you're pissing off your girlfriend. She's just like, why are we driving out to the desert so I can play modded games on my system? It's like, so we're driving out here for video games. Are you kidding me?
She was a lot of things. Excited was not one of them. And the thing is, where he lived was next to this big retail outlet store, but they weren't open for like 3 hours. So we basically sat in my car in the parking lot of this place, and it took this guy, I kid you not, to JTAG it. It took about 3 hours. It took him about 3 hours to JTAG it, and I picked it back up, went home, and I'm always very, very fascinated with it. So obviously, when I was in there, I was asking him a bunch of questions. He told me, don't update it, and don't mess with these little diodes or nothing like that. And so I was just like, cool, this is awesome. And then basically, that in itself started my, I'll say obsession, if you will. Where basically I was up almost every night, dude, for months straight, just reading, like forums. I wanted to learn it all. Then XDKs and all these different things, like I was really fascinated with. And so it was from that point forward where I basically started buying by bulk consoles off Craigslist and repairing them, flashing them, and selling them. And I mean, it was cool because I actually ended up quitting my job at McDonald's about a year in, and for about 6 to 8 months, I made a living just doing modding stuff, dude, off of Craigslist, and I did a couple online transactions on like Seven Sins in the tech game, but I never really liked dealing with that, dude. It was such a pain in the ass with PayPal and shipping and scamming and like
well,
I
also
don't know.
because people kept like asking questions and wouldn't buy and all this
Oh
other stuff.
God,
It's like just
yeah.
stop window shopping.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. That's what. Well, I mean, that's why they have the shops now. They have like the facts that are just like drop downs with like a billion stupid. No offense to anyone, but stupid questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of all what got me into it. And then I just, the funny thing is though, man, I didn't really do very much modding. I just liked knowing how it all worked. Like even once I had it, I did some emulation and custom menus. I thought was pretty rad and whatnot, and it was all really exciting. But I was never the guy that was going around doing a bunch of modding lobbies and doing stuff like that. I mean, occasionally I did a few little infections with my brother, but for me it was more just like, what can I do with my console and why does this work? That's how I am. I like to know like things like that more so than here it is and like let's just play around with it for a long period of time. For me, it was more just like being able to do it was what was exciting for me.
Yeah, no, and I understand. Like, that's actually the same thing with me as well, because like I never really did lobbies or anything like that. But like I'm one of those people. Like I'll get like a piece of hardware or anything, and I'm just like, what can I do for this? And like I know Daniel, you've done this same thing, but I'm sure you've bought systems and like just like pieces of hardware and electronics and all that just to be able to crack them open and mod them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I've spent money on stuff like that too. Like it's all just like fun for me. I remember there was even like one time like somebody on my channel, they're just like, you cannot keep anything stock. I'm like, yeah, no, if there's an exploit available on like a piece of hardware I have, I will probably do it.
Dude, I mean, I was sitting around the other day just thinking about stuff, and I'm like, here's in my room right now. I've got my 3D printer running custom firmware. I've got my Canon Rebel running custom firmware. Like my phone is custom firmware. Like I don't like I don't know why. Like I just
Well, wait, hold on there. You got the iPhone. You can't say custom firmware.
Oh, okay, all right. Jailbreak, whatever. But whatever, man. I'm just saying though, that it's awesome. Like at least with my camera and my printer, especially that the custom, like it added so many like really useful features that again aren't doing anything that's pirated or nothing like that. They're all just things that really the manufacturers decided not to include for whatever reasoning.
Exactly. I mean, you can even do like if you just look into it, like any type of thing can be modding. Like even if you remember the Radeon HD, like these cards, it was the 6850 cards. You could actually flash those cards individually. The first run of them, the second run they end up patching them, but the hardware itself was the exact same as the 6870. So you could actually flash them from a 6850 to 6870 and unlock like extra shaders and all that.
No way.
Yeah, man, you could.
I don't know. I don't know if I feel like I might have read something about that at one point, but I don't know that I have. That's insane though. That's crazy. Yeah,
What blows my damn mind is like the people that discover this stuff. It's like, oh my god, like how do you do this?
Well, I want to like just pick their brain for a while,
Exactly.
Really, just because I mean I'm really interested in it all, but I would never know with so many things like where to start, how to go about things, where would be the right like what would be the right books to read, if you will, or things to start tinkering with to even understand all of that. On because the thing is, it's not that they understand it on a whole another level to be able to do stuff like that.
They understand at like the root level of everything.
Yeah, exactly. And like for me too, I've always been about like. I like modding and not even always like I'm not even always talking the software. I like hardware modding, dude. I like making things look a certain way because I want them to look a certain way. I've always been really big on like art and design and stuff. So I I thought it was as cool when I was able to cut out a window and change out the LEDs. Like all that was badass.
Oh yeah, all window mods and all that are still dope. I still like them.
Yeah, they're awesome. So
yeah,
I mean it's. All that stuff to me was just really cool.
The funny thing is, I think, like, also it gets to a point where, like, I'm holding my phone right now. It gets to a point where, like, you kind of just see everything as, like, binary. It's like, okay, can this be modded? Yes or no. And, like, everything just kind of blends in together because, yes, you have to do different things. But, like, first off, I mean, I've learned quite a bit from this. It's definitely ramped up my confidence with electronics now. It's helped me out at work. And there's, things I've learned at work that I've, brought into the modding scene, too. But there's stuff like, for example, like my phone I'm holding, I have a Nexus 6. Like, a lot of people would be scared to death of doing something like this. And I know because, like, people have, they've asked me, like, 50,000 questions about stuff like this. But they're afraid to, flash over a ROM or, unlock their bootloader or root their phone. And I'm just like, no, I paid $650 for this phone. And the first 5 minutes, the warranty was gone.
Okay, with you just saying that, I have to say the same thing, too, is that I've had so many things where my dad's even talked to me about it before because I've broken things in the past. And when I buy something, he'll be like, "You're not gonna, you're gonna keep this one completely stock, right?" And yeah, of course. In that moment, God, do I mean it? But something happens very quickly where I just get like bored with basic or bored with stock, and I'm like, no, I have to. And it's like I have this strong desire to where like I have to unlock stuff, dude. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, man. I just call it like.
It almost becomes an addiction.
Yeah. It's like a lack of self-control for me at points. So I'm just like, it's just going to be stock. And then, brother comes in. He's like, why is the Xbox in 4 pieces and there's wires coming out of it? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm sorry. I couldn't do it. If it breaks, I'll buy us another one. It's just, it is like an addiction almost, man. Like it really is. It's, maybe not harmful, but
Oh
it
yeah,
just
I'm pretty sure everybody would rather us, tinkering around with electronics and all instead of, shooting heroin into our arms.
yeah. I mean, hopefully, depending on the people, but
Yeah,
I mean,
depending on the people. I know
yeah.
my parents and friends at least
Oh
would
yeah,
rather
yeah,
have
yeah.
that.
Some people might be like, do it. Oh my God. It's like, yeah, me and Mr. Mario like to party.
Exactly. Yeah, getting dark on ModChat.
God, man. But yeah, I mean that's really it. I mean, like, when it came, I will say that like after the whole like modding of the 362, my dog is being an ass bag right now. But I'm sorry guys, my dog she just I don't know what her deal is.
Your dog needs to poop. That's the deal.
Maybe can't really shut her up either. Like,
I hear it.
yeah, I bet she can. She's got such a deep bark, dude.
Yeah. I'm keeping
yeah.
it. I'm keeping that in there.
Okay, good. Yeah, she's like, "What up? I'm in ModChat, bitches. Check me out on Tumblr." Oh my God, she's barking.
She can literally say where my bitch is at.
Yeah, yeah, she might be saying that, but I was gonna say though, man, that like with the Xbox 360 modding too, is like I've modded so many things now. Like after that, I mean, even when I had like my Civic, I ripped out the light panels and replaced the bulbs with LEDs, and like I've just done like stuff kind of like more. I like I didn't want to buy the harness for my aftermarket stereo, so I literally just cut the plugs and soldered wire to wire and straight.
Oh, okay.
Which,
No. I disagree with that because that's cutting up the factory wiring.
yeah, I know, but the thing is, you could totally solder a plug back on it if you wanted to.
Oh, it's just I was in car audio for a bit. No. You gotta use adapters. No.
Dude, I didn't have time, and like there was nowhere local open. It was like midnight. And I was like, dude, fuck it. I
So
want
that's
my.
your own problem for just doing your car audio stuff at midnight.
Hey man, don't judge me, man. I know what you're saying though, because when it was time to sell the car and I wanted to pull the head unit out, like it was just not
It's
a
like
good
you just
time
have
for
like
anyone.
it's like you have one of those Arrested Development moments. Just like I've just made a horrible mistake.
Oh yeah, no, it was absolutely not intelligent. But I'm just saying, like I've got more. I tinker with so much shit, man. Like I mean, building things and all sorts of stuff, and I was never like okay with ripping things apart, and now I'm like I have to see how it works on the inside, like
Exactly.
where the chips are and stuff.
I
But
mean, dude, it's even gotten to the point for me. Like, I remember this is like a few years ago. Like, my brothers were playing with like Beyblades and all that.
Yeah.
And like, one of them got like really messed up. So like, he was freaking out, and I looked at it. I was like, I think I can fix this. So like, I took a screwdriver, I opened it up right there, tinkering around with it for like 10 minutes, and I fixed it up. So I put it back down. I'm like, there you go. Never
Dude.
messed with a Beyblade or anything like that. Like, I'm obviously, a bit too old to play with toys, but I was like, for some reason, I feel like I can do this.
First off, badass that you were able to fix his Beyblade. Second off, Beyblades are tight. I don't know what you're saying. When I was in like 4th grade, we had a little orange arena, and me and my friends would play with the Beyblades at school. So Beyblades are awesome.
And I'm not knocking them, but I'm just like, you're not going to see me play with Beyblades because it's not even like an embarrassment factor. It's just like I don't really have a desire to play with them.
Insert video clip of Mario playing with Beyblades. You just sit there. Oh my God, that's hilarious, dude. But yeah, with the tinkering thing too. I mean, there was a girl at my work who her cat bit her.
Oh, don't tell me you modded the cat.
Bionic leg, bitch. No, just kidding. No, but her cat ate like the cable of her speakers and stuff like that. And I went over one time to replace it. She was like, "Oh, these speakers are no good. The cat broke them." And I was like, I can fix this. So I just took it home, like cut out all the broken part, and basically attached the wire again, and then just heat shrink tubed it. And I mean, they're fine. But dude, that's never something I could have done.
Exactly.
I mean,
you didn't have that confidence before.
No,
It's like,
not
now
at
you
all.
do because of modding and everything.
yeah, exactly, dude. People come up to me with a phone I've never seen before. Like, my phone's broken. And I said, let me tell you something. I can fix your phone and I can break your phone. And if you're willing to take a chance on me, I'll do it. Like, I don't have a problem now. I'm like, dude, what's the worst that can happen? Like, this shit's broken, or like, this thing needs an upgrade. I will say this though, and I don't know if you've ever had times where you've been really hard working on like fixing something or modding something, and it just doesn't work. I get like really stressed, dude. It fucking
Same
pisses.
here.
Oh,
Same
dude.
here. One big thing I can say to anyone, just even though you don't want to, just take a damn break. Like literally, there was one time, like the first ever JTAG I worked on it for 2 hours, couldn't figure it out. So I took a break for like 2 hours, came back. I saw it was like clear as day. There were two wires that I soldered in the wrong positions.
That's happened to me before too. I don't know if I told you this or not too. My first JTAG I did myself, it was all good. It was perfect. It was actually the one I made my video on, like, I mean, 4 years ago. It was done, and I was like, dude, hell yeah. And I told my brother, I was like, oh, I got a 12-volt fan on it though, because it's a Xenon, and like, it's just, prone to red ring of death and all this shit. And so I
Oh
was
god.
stupid. This was dumb. Instead of just like cutting the cable from the disk drive or whatever, like I usually did, I was like, I'm gonna do it like one of the ones I do sometimes, where I just solder it to the pin out of the power plug. And well, when I did that, I put a little super glue over them to like basically not let them touch the housing. Well, somehow it got through, touched the housing, sorted out the whole Xbox, and broke it. As I was putting
Oh.
it back together, I can't tell you how many cigarettes I smoked that night, dude. I was so fucking pissed, man. And like,
Dude, do you have like that one, like that, just like that feeling of like anger and hatred, like in the bottom
oh,
of your stomach, like
dude.
building up and all that when that happens?
Only thing I can say is it's two things. Rage. Like, I mean, the rage was the first emotion. Second was just utter sadness. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just so fucking bummed because like now I can't do anything tonight, and everything I've been working for, and like my room's always really hot. So I mean, honestly, dude, like I don't know. There's just some of the moments I've had with modding have been the best, and some of the moments I've had have been the worst times of my life, dude.
No, I understand. I understand that.
Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely things I'm like, once I've gotten things down, like knocked out, I'm just like, thank God that I can now mod a console, so easily. Because before, that's what like I think a lot of people don't get when they watch like the YouTube videos and stuff, is that it didn't start like that, you know?
Yeah, no, it's a lot of practice. It's like, like getting in shape, like bodybuilding or anything like that. It's not like you just like all of a sudden like bam, you have like glorious muscles. It's like, no, man, like your muscles, you have to train them, and it hurts, and you have to like really work at it. And then when it gets to a point where it looks easy, it's like, yeah, you didn't see my 3-year journey to this.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Once you've gotten it down, then it's just repetition to keep your knowledge and everything like that sharp, if you will. But I mean, yeah, a lot of people don't understand that. That's why, like, I never, even when people like don't really know anything about stuff, I always tell them like, yeah, you can do it, dude. But just I try to always tell people from my mistakes, which is why I say pick up a breadboard or like a scrap board and just solder your heart out until you're able to make a connection that looks promising. Then take it to your good console. Because if I had a dollar for every message I got with someone never soldering before, I picked up like a freaking RGH chip and fried the CPU point on the bottom side of the
Yeah.
board, because that actually was a pretty fucking tricky point, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
don't it was you had to go at it at a certain angle, and I mean, you're tired sometimes, and with the flux and the shine, it's even harder to kind of see exactly where it's at. So I mean, that's risky to go at never soldering before. That's just super
Yeah,
risky.
no, I remember, like, this will probably be the last thing I say with this so we can start wrapping up, but, like, there was one person, I remember, they were really wanting an RGH, and nobody in their area was doing it, and I remember we had to convince this person not to do it, because they had, like, one good slim, and it was all stock, and this guy was like, hey, you know what? I'm thinking, screw it. I'm just going to RGH my system. Can somebody give me a list of tools and all the stuff I'll need and all the tips? And I just came in, I was like, stop. Like, what you're doing right now, you say you've never modded, you've never hard modded, you've never soldered. Stop right now. Do not continue on. He's like, but I really, really wanted RGH and nobody does it here. I'm like, okay, well, do you want a working system or a broken system?
Yeah, you're not gonna get an RGH at the end of this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, well, you know what? You go ahead, you buy all the tools, you work on the system, you destroy it, and then you feel bad.
Oh yeah, dude. Did you convince him to not do it?
I convinced him to, and I was like, and some people might call me a dick for it, and it's like, you know what? You'll call me a dick if you've never done that, because there's no way anybody who has had, I'm talking zero practice soldering can go in and perfectly do, an RGH or anything like that.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely no way. There's so many, like, how long to hold the iron and not touching other things, and having so many people have like a fat glob of solder on the iron tip, and I'm like, that's gonna fuck everything.
Yep.
Once you drop that on there with all the flux, it's gonna adhere to everything, and then you're done, dude. I mean, it's such. I mean, again, I'd be lying if I said I haven't done some of that stuff, but I know from experience, and so I just try to like let people know. I mean, you've got two options. One, take my advice. Two, don't take my advice. Either way, you're going to be dealing with the consequences of whatever it is you decide to do.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I will say this, at the end of the day, I've seen so many people who come from nothing, and now it's just like, it's blowing my mind what they do. You can learn. You can always learn. Like, the brain is a fantastic tool, and the internet is wonderful.
Yeah, it's just if you're willing to take the time and put in the amount of
Reading.
exactly.
Reading.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the most people's biggest flaws is laziness, dude. Sheer laziness. Trying to do something without the prior, without any prior knowledge or without enough prior knowledge on what they're doing, and then think like kind of acting first and afterwards, like
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
But kind of. I think we've kind of shifted a little off topic.
Oh yeah, but hey, that was our history of modding, and kind of our little rant on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it. I really do, because like that was a fun episode. These are always fun to do.
Yeah, and we've got a lot. We've got a list of things already like planned out, and I mean, I'm sure it won't take long for us to get more. And like I know a lot of you guys have been actually commenting a lot of different things down below, so I'm sure once we run out of ideas or something like that, we're going to be going to the comments too. So again, as always, don't forget to comment in below if you have any other things you'd like to hear us talk about in future episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Any feedback is appreciated and all that, because we love getting the feedback and everything.
Oh yeah, I'd be lying if I said I haven't read every single one of your guys' comments.
Twice.
Yeah, like 3 times. I showed my mom once,
And she's like, "Okay, that's nice. Just leave me alone."
Yeah, like, just trying to like check my Instagram, mom, like her son, But oh, do you want to tell them too about? I'm sure maybe a lot of them know, but if they don't, the whole podcast, like where you're going to be posting it on and stuff like that.
Yeah. We have it on. I guess it's at the end of it now, but we have it on Podbean, so it's obviously available on there. And then also, of course, the links are down below in the description for Dopester 930's channel. He's on YouTube, and then there's going to be this will be on my channel, but we also have a Facebook page as well too, which we're trying to populate with more information and everything. So like the Facebook page as well for details if you want more stuff like that. That's going to be like one of the only times I ever actually promote this stuff here.
Yeah, I need to. I feel like get a little more active on the Facebook page. The only thing it sucks is from my phone. When I post on there, it doesn't post from there. It posts from like my personal, for whatever reasoning. So that's the only sucky thing. Is there's been a few times on the fly I've wanted to update it and I haven't been able to because of that reasoning.
What you should do is just run it through your browser.
That would be problem solved right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that might be ended up what I end up doing here in the near future.
Modding.
Modding 101. Yeah, it's just specific browser. But
exactly. Yep. Anyways, we can go ahead and do the send-offs and everything. So this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you for watching, everyone.
And Dopester 930, guys, as always, thank you for watching. And don't forget to share and like the video and whatnot, so it makes us happy.